Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm Daniel. I'm the founder of Startup CPG. For anyone watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe. You're going to get a lot of cool stuff. So I just want to welcome everybody to this webinar. So today we're going to be talking about the Summer Fancy Food Show. We've got our friends here from Specialty Food Association. This is a wonderful show. We're going to have an incredible presence there. I have always told people, for my money, this is probably the best buyer to brand ratio that you can find is at the Summer Fancy Food Show. It is stacked with buyers, people like Glenn, who's joining us today from Village Supermarket, which is like Fairway and Gourmet Garage, a bunch of ShopRites also. And I think I recently heard a crazy statistic from Liana about, like, if somebody walks by your booth, what percent of the time are they a buyer?
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3 people walking by your
Yeah.
booth are buyers. So let's go. That's what we like. And yeah, we've been, really going all in with SFA on as much as possible because, we love to show up at these shows like a community. We have a big, beautiful section at the show. And today, probably a lot of you know, one person is going to actually win a tabletop in our section. And, it'd be cool for everyone to hear from Glenn what the buyer experience is going around the show and, like, why is it that people are so interested in the show. But you're going to hear a few different perspectives today. So first, Liana is going to take us through just an overview for the show. If you haven't been, just to get you a little familiar with it, how is it different from other stuff that's out there? What does it feel like to be there? Patricia from my team is on because I just want you guys to hear all of the stuff that we're up to at the show, because our goal is for anybody who goes anywhere, any brand, we want you to have the best possible experience. And we have a lot of ways that we're doing that you will love. And then also just really excited to have Glenn on, who Glenn probably has set the record so far for bringing on for distribution the most brands from our community from our events. So we will get you a trophy for that. It's awesome. And we also have a very big event coming up with him during Fancy Foods that Patricia will tell us about. And then we're also joined by Lauren Bodden. You may have heard of her. Her brand Snoods is making waves in all the right ways. And just, had crushed it recently at another trade show. She was in our section last year, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what it's like to be at the show. So that's a lot of stuff to get through. And then towards the end of the webinar, we will give you the instructions for how to enter for your chance to win. So even if you don't win, though, the tabletops are pretty reasonable. So, I hope everyone is thinking about it. And oh boy, you're going to like hearing about our stuff. Okay, so Liana, can I pass over to you to get us started?
You bet. So thanks everyone for joining. Very excited to talk about our Summer Fancy Food Show, which takes place June 29th through July 1st this year at the Javits Center in New York City. So for those of you who have not seen it yet, let me see if I can give you a little taste here.
My name is Eileen Gannon. I'm the founder and CEO of Sunday Night Foods, and we're here in New York at the Fancy Food Show.
Amazing. Thank you for joining. I'm so happy to be here with you, and so excited to be the Fancy Food Show.
This product is actually sourced through a spring system that is over 2,000 years old.
It's me.
Key buyers are coming into the building. They are looking at the Sophie Awards area and they end up coming to our booth. And that is super valuable to us.
So we skip past there. So that, of course, was a sizzle reel from our summer show last year that was promoting our winter show, but now we're back to summer again. So just a few kind of fast facts here about the Specialty Food Association. So we are a nonprofit member-driven organization established in 1952, representing the $207 billion specialty food industry. And specialty food is one of those funny phrases, right? You kind of know it when you see it. But we like to think of it as kind of the better version of, all the mass-produced food that's out there. Our flagship events are 2 fancy food shows. We do one in winter and one in the summer. Our Sophie Awards, which you saw a little bit about in the video there, we have an annual Sophie Award event. This year we'll actually be honored at the winter show in 26 instead of the summer show. But we also offer industry research and benchmarking, education, resources, and support for everyone associated with the industry. As a nonprofit organization, our whole reason for existing is to generate opportunity and success for people trying to get into this market, trying to start a business, trying to thrive, and trying to succeed. So our entire reason for existing is to come up with activities and create connections that make that happen for all you guys. Couple facts about this is actually the Summer Fancy Food Show, but we're in our 69th year. This is all of last year's stats. Our 69th year, we get about 29,000 industry participants, tons of press and influencers, close to 2,500 exhibitors, 335,000 square feet. This year, we expect to be at about 350. And we get a ton of exhibitors with new to market products, first time exhibitors. And then we have a partner country every year. Last year it was Spain. This year it is actually Italy that is our partner country. We have a number of different countries that come in and participate every year. So to give you an idea of who attends, so when I talk about the buyer community, we really talk about our retailers, our food service operators, and our distributors and importers. And you can kind of see here what the breakdown is between those. So, about 38% retailers, 19% food service, and then 43% in the distributor and importer categories. But some of the things that, I think a lot of folks like about our show, in addition to the density of buyers versus non-buyers on the show floor that Daniel mentioned, is, if you really take a look at the power of this audience, 89% of our attendees are involved in purchasing decisions for their operations. So you're getting people on the show floor who are actively making those decisions. And then 78% of them are reporting annual revenue of over $1 million, and that's our retailers. So these are folks with budget and with authority to spend that budget on bringing new brands to market. And then just the last thing to note is what we find is folks who come to our show, you're not necessarily going to find them at other shows. 33% or 30% of our folks don't go to any other show. And then you can kind of see here some of our, larger competitive shows. It's a unique audience. So these are not folks that you're going to run into if you are advertising or working with other shows around the industry. Again, keeping it with the theme of who attends, we get folks from all shapes and sizes. We have your large buyers from, your Kroger's, Albertsons, even your Walmarts and Targets. And then we have kind of those specialty and natural folks, your Heinen's, your Whole Foods, your Gelson's, your Thrive Market. And then we have a whole bunch of independents who come. So really whatever stage you're at in your brand's business life cycle, whether you're, looking for smaller outlets, you're looking more for, regional or multi-store independents, or whether you're ready for the big national buyers, all of them come here to the Fancy Food Show every year. And there's a Startup CPG Pavilion. Daniel mentioned the big old sign we put over there, but there's him and his team, you can't miss, up in the area there, where there's a bunch of different brands that all group together under a common pavilion. And there's always a ton of excitement and energy around this part of the show floor. So love what you guys bring to the table, and, love the, having all of these new brands get their start here at the Fancy Food Show.
It's the best. It's the best section that we ever, if anyone has been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's like an energy vortex at the show. It's so special and beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun over there. And what we've actually started doing just at the winter show that we're going to bring into the summer show this year is actually working with Daniel and his team on programming at the show. So, and I'll let his team talk a little bit more about this, but, a couple different things that we do work with the Startup CPG group to put on some buyer panel sessions, as well as some high level talks with, for example, the female founders panel that was put together at Winter. So it's a number of different opportunities for the startup CPG community to kind of stand out and engage, from the stage in addition to on the floor.
Should we talk about it a little bit since you have
Yeah.
these nice photos up right now? It's a nice backdrop for us to talk about it. So, one that I'll mention is we always do a big fun main stage panel. So that's the photo that you're seeing on the left. That was the one we did at the Winter Show. And so you can see the buyers are on the top row with me, and that's Whole Foods and Thrive and Bristol, and Good Stuff, who hosted us for an amazing event in San Francisco last week that we did in partnership with SFA, where I got these lovely bracelets. This says SFA loves SF, and we're getting fancy. And so those are a bunch of brands then that got to pitch them. And some people got in with those retailers off just, we like do let brands jump up and do like a 15-second pitch. Some people got into those stores. And so we'll repeat that this year at the summer show again. And so Glenn will be one of the speakers on the panel with us. We'll also have Jeanette Bloss from NCG, who, that's just one of the biggest players out there in the natural channel. And she covers so many categories. She's amazing. We'll have Whole Foods joining us and Earth Fare again this year. So that's a main stage panel that we're doing. Patricia, do you mind giving everyone the rundown of our female founder programming, which we love doing?
Yeah, of course. So the Female Founder Lounge is gonna happen on Sunday, in the big Sparkle idea. Did I say that right, Lena?
Spark Showcase, yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I'm still like remembering the names, but we are gonna have a program from 1 to 4 p.m. on a Sunday. So from 1 to 2, you're gonna host a fundraising panel. And then from 2 to 3, a retailer panel, and from 3 to 4, we have a Shark Tank panel. And all this content is going to be tailored for female founders, like CPG female founders, of course. And the events are already live. I mean, of course, it's free, but just in case you guys want to sign up to make sure that it's on your calendar so you don't miss those opportunities. We'll be sharing the link soon, but if you follow our Eventbrite, you can find them there.
And can you just give everyone a sense of some of the speakers that we have on those? We have some incredible ones. So yeah, we have the first one. So we have the fundraising one with a couple super relevant female funders, and we have the retailer panel with just some really epic female buyers. And then the Shark Tank panel is gonna be crazy. We have the head of Shark Tank casting who's coming. She just did a webinar with us also, and she's a good person to meet because she has the get to the front of the line ticket with her typically,
Yeah,
Patricia?
so for the fundraising panel, we have investor from M&A and Ventures in PepsiCo, Bullet,
They are doing a lot of acquiring these days, as everybody knows. Poppy,
Yeah.
Siete.
and then Simple Food Ventures. And then for retailer, we have Thrive Market, GoPuff, Happier Grocer, and a Hold.
Hold, yeah.
Yeah, and then Shark Tank, as he said, we have Minzy from Shark Tank, and then we also have founder from Sweet Kiwi that it was on the show last year.
Amazing. And then I'll mention one other thing. So one of the best things that we do at this show from an impact perspective is we set up meetings with all of you brands and buyers. So like you don't see this, but behind the scenes, I am emailing every buyer that I know who is going to the show and asking if they want to meet with brands from our community. You guys see probably when we put out this big list of, hey, apply to meet with all of these different retailers at the show. I think we already have about 10 locked in for meetings. And what that means is you'll get the chance to apply for a meeting with them. If they select you, you'll get to meet with them for about 5 minutes at our booth, which we've learned is actually plenty. And tons of brands have gotten on shelf because of this. Patricia, do you mind maybe just listing some of the retailers who have already confirmed to do meetings with us at our booth?
Absolutely. So we have Sprout Innovation, KeHE, Snackwise, Whole Foods, Northwest Grocer, New Seasons Market, maybe Fairway.
Yes. Yes, Glenn will. I know Glenn is going to do
I
it.
haven't emailed Fairway yet, so I'm just throwing under the bus. But those are some of the names that we have confirmed already.
Cool. And we're a couple months out, so we're going to have a bunch more. So that stuff is great. Like a lot of you will be in our section. It's going to be awesome. But you know, if you're at a booth or even if you're just around like at the show, you'll be able to apply for that stuff. And it is incredible. It's just such a big opportunity. And just impactful for the retailers. Glenn, maybe this would be a good time to pull you in a little bit. Do you mind just, because, you know, you're on the panel with us, you're walking the show. Do you mind maybe just telling everyone, first of all, introducing yourself, and then just telling people a little bit about, like, you know, why do you go to the show? What do you get out of it?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for having me. I'm Glenn Cunningham, Center Store Director for Village Supermarkets. We run a few ShopRite and Fairway and Gourmet Garages in the city. You know, really the show, excited about the show. You know, you guys do a phenomenal job, you know, getting all the vendor community together. You know, it's planning ahead. It's a lot of planning and really getting to see the show floor and how do you accomplish it, you know, in a short period of time. You know, Daniel, your team, your pavilion, you know, we call it, you know, it gets me in there. I get to see all the vendors, you know, Patricia, when you set up the meetings, you know, we do the one-on-ones. I think that really helps me. It's a lot of intake for me. And then it's doing all the work after the show to kind of set up all the meetings, to decide what vendors we're going to bring in, who's going to come to shelf, how my team are going to launch. We're going to start with a marketing plan, you know, how are new to shelf, what kind of trends are we seeing, kind of really look at our stores and, you know, what can we bring these new items and when can we bring in these new items. But I think just really planning it out, you know, mapping it, you know, from brokers to, you know, Daniel, your team, you know, contacting me, to distributors, you know, we're walking the show. You know, we're getting stopped, and I try to plan everything. There's one-on-one meetings, there's vendors that I have to go see, there's stuff that we have planned out. But all it is, it's, you know, a lot of planning, you know, over, call it 3 days. You know, Daniel, you got a good time slot for me, you know, a few days. So I think we'll, you know, look forward to, you know, everything we get to see, and, you know, really working, you know, with vendors and, you know, what kind of new items can I bring to shelf for my customers. And if it's you know, new trendy, quick, you know, meal, global flavors, convenient snacking, protein snacking, you know, something spice heat, you know, healthier trends, right? No seed oils, more non-alcoholic beverages. You know, those are the few things that, you know, I'll be looking for.
That's amazing. And I saw Sarah in the comments mention she met you at Fancy Food Winter and then just got into Fairway. So it does happen, people. Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, we love it. And maybe Patricia, we could also just talk about some of the events since you know, we got Glenn here. We do big, fun parties at the events because we like to, but also because it's important to get our community together. It's always going to be focused around featuring brands and getting buyers there so that you guys can meet them, and really just celebrating our community, making sure everybody's getting to connect and just give everybody excuses to show off their products. So the first big event we're doing this year is with our friends at Fairway. So we're doing the grocery run edition during Fancy Foods at Fairway Market. So we'll be with Glenn and his team at their awesome 74th Street location. So we're going to have a couple hundred people up there in their cafe. Get ready for us. So Glenn, everybody will have a lot of brands who are going to be sampling for everybody there. Everybody's going to be coming. You and your team will be there, right? Looking for new products.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll be there. You know, we want to meet, you know, everybody there. It's a great, you know, networking, you know, opportunity. You know, I would love to walk the store, right, with current or, you know, coming in, you know, new vendors. They're going to want to, you know, get on our shelves, you know, let them, you know, check out our store. It's a great experience to have our cafe. It looks right over, you know, Broadway, right across from the Beacon Theater. It's a really good location. Excited about it. It's the first time we're doing this, you know, collaborating together as, you know, Fancy Food. And I'm really looking forward to, you know, meeting and connecting and networking at the event.
It's going to be so good. We did one with them at Gourmet Garage, one of their other premier New York places, and it was incredible. The vibes there were unreal, right? Everybody just had the best time. Cool. Well, Glenn, thank you. Glenn, really, thank you so much, because, you know, like, we're just kind of messing around until we get buyers there making things happen. So we really, really appreciate that. I know Liana knows the importance of getting all the buyers there.
It's fun. Definitely fun.
Awesome. Cool. So, and then just to kind of round up the events that we're doing at night, and then we'll get back into the presentation. So, on Monday night, Patty, do you mind previewing what we've got in store?
Yeah, for sure. We are gonna host a CPG founder dinner on Monday. The space is beautiful. We are so excited about that. This one is gonna be only for founders, but the Fairway and then Tuesday event, they are also open for service providers to join us. And then on Tuesday, we have our third annual Summer of Startups. Our main party during Summer Fancy Food is going to be at the Shopify Soho location, also a beautiful location. This is the third year we do at the same place, and we are going to have brand sampling, VIPs invited, so it's also going to be great.
Yeah. And so Patty and I, we're out there, we're trying to get as many buyers as we can to come to the events. We're getting media there, we're getting investors there, and brands. We have, official sampling forms that you guys can submit to, we'll try to accommodate as many people as we can, but we expect everybody to show up with their products in their backpacks and be showing them around. We'll be doing lots of cool content also. And yeah, the Monday night events can be very special. Founder dinner. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the content we put out on social media about the one we just did in New York last week, but it's very beautiful. We want you all to find your lifelong founder friends to bounce all of your troubles and challenges off. So, and then, Tuesday, Summer of Startups, classic party of ours, just kind of a blowout. The last night of the event, same thing. You all will love it. Okay, so I want Liana, maybe do you want to go? Do you want to? Let's loop in Lauren because she's been waiting just to give her a little bit of the brand perspective, and then we can finish up. Does that sound good?
Yep, sure does.
Okay, perfect. So Lauren, I don't know if I know you were having some difficulty with the camera, but I just want to introduce.
Well, I think you can hear me now,
Yes,
hopefully.
perfect. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So Lauren, thank you for joining us. So Lauren is the founder of Snoods, and Lauren was in our section last year and just had a great experience. So Lauren, do you mind just sharing for everybody, first just like why did you want to be at Fancy Food Summer Show in the first place? What made you think about it, and how does it fit into your overall strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm New York based, so for me, it was low-hanging fruit to be there in the city already. I've gone previously before I even launched a brand, so I was a bit familiar with it. And it was, yeah, I mean, it was an easier way for me to go and showcase some of the product innovation that we had done since we initially launched just a handful of months beforehand, and then touch base with a lot of the retailers that we work with. I mean, we had just launched in Fairway and Gourmet Garage. And so not only meeting, again, Glenn face to face, but our distributors. So it was, like you said, an amazing experience. It feels like I still touched base with, I feel like every retailer that I saw at Expo West, but it is way more intimate and it feels a lot less aggressive, but you're getting just as much done as the other expos. I think that there's beyond just like the retail meetups and everything, there's other ways to meet other founders and see how you can partner together on future launches at retails together, or doing other pop-up marketing together. So really connecting with some of those other founders, whether they're in the same city as you or not. And then we also had the opportunity, Delish, the online publication, they had a panel where they picked a lot of different brands, food products that they saw throughout the show. And then they had a burger cook-off on stage. And so our snoots were able to be a burger topper. So there's a lot of like fun, different moments that were very unique to this expo versus other ones that definitely feel like they just take a lot more out of you.
I gotcha. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you said a lot of it, but like, how would you talk to a brand about it that is thinking about coming, especially from another part of the country? Like, who would it be right for to come and exhibit at the show?
I mean, definitely it's way more attainable for startups, especially when you're bootstrapping. It's a lot less aggressive of a booth setup than you have at Expo West. I really just had our tablecloth, and I had like a little like $30 push cart next to our table that I was able to display our different bag sizes. So, I mean, just in terms of what is required and then also the spend, it's a lot more attainable. And then, yeah, I mean, definitely I always go into every trade show with a set goal in mind. So that way I feel like I'm getting my money's worth behind it. And so if whether you're launching a new product or looking at new retailers, or even if you had just launched in retail and you're trying to test out other things, whether it's new packaging innovation, or even at the last one, I was communicating with a lot of different retailers that I wanted to launch with, but I was trying to figure out who was the best distributor to go about that with. So yeah, I mean, I would say it's definitely the best trade show for your early on companies, but that's not to say that someone that isn't like very established shouldn't go, because I mean, like I said, you're getting a lot of those like very intimate conversations at Fancy Food Show. So I really can't say enough good things. I think it is for everyone, but it really leans into the startup community.
And awesome. Thank you. I think that that's very true. What and do you mind just sharing a little bit about what it's like to be in our section also for brands? We like for you guys to know about all the stuff that we're doing in what it's like to be in our section or just like near our section, because I think it's like very similar.
Yeah, I mean, everyone that came through that section, whether they were a brand or a retailer or food service individual, was always like, this is the easiest section to spot. I mean, there's flags everywhere, there's signage everywhere, everyone knows who Startup CPG is. And I mean, I've had booths through Startup CPG several times now, and it is just, I mean, you have an established community. So like this, you can ask a lot of those questions that maybe you think are too dumb to ask. They're never dumb questions. But it's also, I mean, you have all of these different panels or buyer meetings and things that are already set up that you just have to think less about because you're already so consumed by running your business and doing all of these other things. And then people that are even in the startup CPG that don't even have a booth are just flocking over. So I mean, it's the party, it's the place to be, and you have a lot of hand holding, which is just a beautiful thing as a startup.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. And so one thing I'll mention, our section, honestly, like has been almost filled. Like we do kind of rounds of submissions. I think there are like 4 slots left. We're about to do the last round. So you guys can submit for it. But, just a couple people will be able to be in the section. But SFA does an amazing thing where they actually have extended, because, we get access to the tabletops, which I think are the best deal at the show. And so Liana can talk about it in a little bit, but you guys can get tabletops even if you can't be in our section, like be near our section, because it is honestly almost the same thing. Like when Glenn is coming to our section, he's going to all of the tabletops around us also, and it'll feel almost like you're in the section. So Patricia has just pasted the actual application for our section that you guys can check. And then in a second, Liana is just going to show you the overall team that you can reach out to. And so I would kind of do both at the same time, like reach out to her team, because really we're just going to only be able to accommodate a couple people. There are 130 people on this call. Only one person's going to win the free booth. But it's such a good deal that I hope we will see a lot of you there also. And then I guess lastly, I didn't.
Daniel, just adding here, SFA, they emailed me the other day that actually the booths are gonna be on the same floor, but all the booths near us has filled. But they are still gonna keep the same price. And that's
Amazing.
a good area to be at, like the debut district.
The debut district, all the early brands, people know what they're looking for. And then lastly, I was just wondering if there's anybody in the audience here who was like in Vegas and saw our female founder lounge. I don't know if like maybe someone could raise their hand if they are willing to just come up and talk about that was like. I think I saw Maxie in here, or if anybody like is willing to just tell everyone what it was actually like to be in there, maybe you could raise your hand and I can just promote you to come and do a little surprise guest spot about it. All right, I see a hand. There we go. There's always one. Let me find it. Okay, promote to panelist. Actually, we've got 2 of you, so. All right, Maxie, what's up?
Hi, Jen. Hi, Patricia. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
I'm actually in a coffee shop. I hope you can hear me well. But yeah, I wanted to briefly share my experience from the further female founders pitch in Vegas. I actually went on stage and had an opportunity to present Happy Candy, and I got really valuable feedback from, I think it was Thrive Market, from Food Navigator, from basically experts from the industry on my pitch and how I present myself to buyers, which really helped me to have follow-up meetings with buyers and land listings. And it was very early on when we launched. So it was very valuable to have that feedback early on in the process. So overall, it was a great opportunity and a great experience. And I had so many people after my pitch come up to me and talk to me. So it really helped also to get our brand out there and have people interested in just chatting more, meeting other founders and other people from the industry.
That's amazing. And then just a follow-up question, Maxi, which is, I wasn't, mainly this is for female founders. So, Patricia was running it from our team. So I wasn't there, most of the time. But when I did just step in to see how it was going, it just seemed like the environment was very beautiful and supportive. And it just seemed like such a special place to be at the show, that there were just the most amazing connections happening, which, we sometimes have these events and where it just everyone's like, that was the most productive thing, because everybody just, is so happy to be in that place, in this kind of space that, SFA has worked with us to create at the show. Did it feel like that?
Yeah, 100%. So definitely felt like, you're in the middle of everything that's happening, but kind of had the opportunity to have deeper conversations because it was a little bit more on the side and, more quiet, but still with all the flags and the Startup CPG kind of signs, you draw a lot of it, you drew a lot of attention. And so a lot of buyers came took their time to learn more about innovative brands and products, and we had really good conversations and follow-ups and listings coming out of that. So it was really good to be part of the section.
Amazing. All right. Thank you, Maxi. Okay, Liana, I'm going to pass it back to you because I know we've got some other info to go through here.
Yeah, just a couple of things, a couple other points, in addition to, as everyone's kind of talked about the low cost of entry for the show, I want to make sure everyone's aware that, by participating in the show, whether it's officially with Daniel's group or whether it's, through a separate tabletop buy, you actually also become a member of the Specialty Food Association. So there's some additional, perks that happen throughout the entire year in between our shows. One of which is our maker prep course. So every show we launch a new cohort of maker prep, which is it's kind of the the basics of everything from packaging design to marketing to trade spend. Just kind of an opportunity to hear from other makers about what they've gone through as they've kind of started and grown their business. So this is something that like I said, kicks off at the show, and then we have a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning that happens between shows. And then we have a graduation ceremony actually at the following show. So this summer, you'll see the graduates from our winter show cohort. And then if you're interested in participating, there is a summer show cohort starting up.
There's actually someone in the audience, Tamara, who's in it. I wonder, maybe Tamara, do you want to come up and just chat about it for a sec? If you want, I'm going to invite you to be a panelist, Tamara, in case you want to come up and shout out the program and your brand. Or I see the Flavorsmith also. I see some good comments in here from Ethan, enjoying the experience. So if we don't get Tamara, maybe we'll get hey, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Hey.
Okay. Yes, I am in the program right now. Lots of great info. They're very supportive. We're also able to get in at a very low price for a tabletop in the debut section, which I think is going to be near you guys, right?
Yep.
And I am a member of your group too, but I haven't been as involved on Slack. But I'm going to pop over and say hi. But they offer lots of support, even through the classes through SFA, not the ones through the program, but also we can take any of the other classes as well. So it's been wonderful.
Cool. And what kind of brands do you think it's right for? Who can get the most out of it?
Any emerging brand at all, any brand. There's even some that aren't even at like wholesale yet. So it kind of helps you either get to wholesale or branch out from whatever wholesale you're doing and get into more retailers. They go through all the requirements that are needed, certifications, all different classes, all food
Awesome.
lawyer stuff, everything.
Stuff.
Great. Cool. Okay. I see a couple other comments in the chat from Ethan and Erica saying that they both have been a part of it and have been having a good time. Cool. If anyone else wants to in the chat, maybe just put any additional comments about the kind of stuff that you get out of it or who you would recommend it for, that kind of stuff. I think that's helpful for everybody to see. Okay, Liana, back to you.
Just a couple other points, again, along with this membership, we have a partnership with a group called Pola. They are a creative marketing services agency, and they take a space on our show floor where they bring in this like big robot arm that kind of, slides around and takes photos from all these different angles. During the show, they actually offer complimentary white background photo shoots for anyone who is a member. So you can go over by their booth, you can drop your product off, and they will do a number of photos for you at no charge. And then if you choose to work with them after the show, they give a pretty significant discount to SFA members. So it's a nice little kickstart into some marketing activity and some assets for you, if that's something that you need to get started up on. So that takes place actually at the show. And then outside of the show, again, year round, and I know, this was mentioned briefly, there's year round resources. We do webinars, we have trend reports, we have various industry directories, everything from distributors to shared kitchens, to grant and funding directories out there. Community, we have mentorship programs, we have share groups, and then we do a number of industry discounts where we work with a partnership or with a Nielsen IQ to get discounts for our members. So again, as part of participating in the Summer Fancy Food Show, part of that fee does include membership for the year. So you get access to all of these things outside of the show. So for the entire year, there's support and resources for you.
This was a photo from the yacht cruise, which we were lucky to get to go on. We got a very nice, beautiful sunset view of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, it was lovely. This was our new member party. That's another thing. We do a new member party at every show. So if it's your first time as a new member, you will be invited to join us on our little Lady Liberty cruise here that we went on.
It was pretty epic to do that in New York, even for people who live here. Most people have not done that. It's pretty awesome.
It's very cool. And then just, as Daniel mentioned, there's some contact information here. If you're not going directly through the Startup CPG section, there's still tons of opportunity for you to participate in the show at the same entry point from a cost standpoint. We have 3 different regions. Justin, Kevin, and Rita make up those 3. And you see here is their contact information and then which states each one of them are responsible for servicing. So you can reach out to your respective rep who can help you out, figure out where the best location for you is, and get you all the information that you could possibly need. Trade shows are not, they can be daunting if you've never done it before, but our team does a really nice job of making it very accessible and very easy to do business here.
So these are the contacts for everybody. If honestly, in all likelihood, you probably will not be one of the brands in our section. So I would just hit these guys with an email now. Like, if you get a free booth or whatever, if you're the one person who gets it, then you can always not pursue with them. But yeah, I would just reach out and have the contact with Justin or Kevin or Rita, just so you have the contact saved and, can have a discussion with them. Again, these are just the entry level stuff is very reasonable. So just make sure you let them know, you're hoping to get a tabletop, like, somewhere in the debut, kind of near closer to us. And then you'll of course be able to take advantage of all the stuff that we're offering there.
And then I went ahead and just tossed in a QR code here. I think Daniel mentioned the link for the booth giveaway is in the chat, but it's also right here in this QR code if you want to grab a hold of that. And Daniel, I'm not sure when we actually announce the winner of that booth. Do you have a timeline on that?
Yeah, I mean, very, very soon. So the team will do this pretty quickly. Basically, we know everybody needs to get their plans, so go ahead and apply, and we'll be passing it over for the team to make a decision about this one. And I wish all of you guys luck, but sadly there can only be one. But yeah, the options are all really reasonable, so I would hopefully plan on seeing a lot of you guys there. I hope everyone was able to snap this in time, because this is basically go here and then submit your info, and this is you entering for the free giveaway, and we'll try to get them to give a response back to you guys just probably in the next 2 days, something like that. Maybe even a day. I don't know. We'll just try to go pretty quick so that you guys can make your alternate plans as well. But I wouldn't hold up on this because you can like start talking to them, and if you win, you can always let them know.
That's all I've got.
Okay, I got some questions
here.
here.
We want to chat about. I'm here for it.
Yes, the questions are coming in. So if you guys, I've seen some in the chat, but if you have a question, go ahead and submit it through the Q&A function. So the first one that came in is, so if since the show's on the East Coast, is it mostly East Coast buyers? And so, Liana, do you want to start?
Yeah, I would certainly say that when you're talking about some of the smaller independent type retailers, you're going to get more of a concentration of East Coast folks. But honestly, between the two shows, we see quite a bit of crossover between East and West Coast.
Cool. And if you heard us talking about some of the retailers that are coming for our meetings and panels, I mean, Northwest Grocers is coming from the Pacific Northwest, as is New Seasons Market. Bristol Farms, a bunch of the California retailers. I think for them, they're just really interested in seeing early stuff year round. They don't want to just wait for fancy in San Diego next year. They are all over a lot of the stuff. People who want to be first to market are here looking. So definitely, if you're like, I'm only going to do one, and my priority is SoCal, like, okay, then yeah, maybe do the one in SoCal. But for sure, if anyone who's interested in the Northeast, but also just generally national stuff, there are going to be a lot of really epic buyers here. So me, on my own volition, I want to do all the shows just because I'm like, I spend so much time year round trying to hit buyers on LinkedIn and submit through their forms, and there's nothing like an in-person conversation. And I really believe that this show is really affordable, accessible to people, and an overall great experience. So, okay. So, another question, I'd be interested to hear from Glenn on this one also, which is, if a startup's branding and packaging, excuse me, is still being finalized, would you get a booth or a table? If you're like not like, what are you like, what are you going to think, Glenn, if you see something that's not totally baked?
Probably not. I'd probably like to see something like that, on the side, Daniel. You could walk up to me, we can talk about it. But
In
yeah,
an alley,
be
yeah.
ready, or in between tables, right? I get approached a lot. People come up with their bags and backpacks and have stuff. So I think it's a side conversation, but I don't think the table's ready yet.
I'll just add, because I've been wanting to tell people this. Like, we had one event where somebody kind of like ran up to a buyer and pulled out a plastic baggie and was like, "Would you try this? Would you tell me?" It was like kind of sketchy. I would not do that to be your first impression with a buyer, because they don't always remember every interaction, but they will remember that if you do that. So I would like, yeah, I mean, I think a buyer just doesn't know what to do. If your product's not ready to go, they're like, "What am I?" You like, I don't even know what to do with this. I don't know what to give you feedback on. So I mean, it might be cool to go to the show, and I think there are ways to try to talk to buyers, just to like get feedback if it's good. I mean, yeah, pulling out a plastic baggie is almost never a good way to do it. But if you have at least some printed out packaging, like it's gonna look like this, like, so it doesn't look like some thing that came out of someone's trunk, then I think you can do it. But also, they're like, you don't have to fully rush it. But buyers can be a really valuable source for feedback. Like at our founder dinner, we had John Lawson, the Whole Foods forager, giving people super specific, brilliant feedback. So you can get some of that stuff. Lauren, I saw your hand is up. Do you have a comment to add, or was it yeah?
I was just going to say, I mean, I think in terms of that, it depends if you're wanting to go to the show to get into retail, or, I mean, the last Expo East, I had a booth through Startup CPG, and at the time I was working on a commercial kitchen, but I hadn't fully settled on what our branding was or our packaging was, but I was struggling to find a co-man that could get me to where I needed to be. And so for me, I kind of had gotten to a point where I was like, I just have to exhibit and even just test out what I have now to know even where to go. And I think, I mean, like you said, you can do those things by walking the floor, but sometimes I feel like for me at that point, it was, I mean, I walked away with my co-man, so it was successful in that, right? But Yeah, I went to the show with the best product that I had, and then I mocked up packaging, so I did have packaging there, but it allowed me to really test out the market fit for where I was headed. So, I mean, that's not like a perfect answer, but I think you just have to evaluate, like, what are you going to the show to do, and then and see from there. I mean, because you can test out those things at other Startup CPG events that you guys have going on.
Yeah, I think, everybody just gets really excited about what they're working on, right? And I think what
Totally.
they're hoping is that they're gonna like show it to the Whole Foods buyer, this like early idea, and they're gonna be like, stop the presses. Hold on. Can I get this in my store? And we'll pay for everything ahead of time and pre-order it. Like, it's probably not gonna happen. So I think like, think about when you can make your best first impression. And I think, probably a reasonable question from people is like, what stage of my brand should I think about going to shows like this? And I mean, I think it like, when you want the kind of opportunities that this has available, right? If you're like fully bootstrapped and you actually have no money to even support growth, if you got like, a 5, 10 store chain, even that would be hard for you. Yeah, like it might not do that much for you if you go to the show. First of all, I mean, yeah, like there's an expense to the show, there's an expense to prepping for the show and bringing samples to the show. And if you're not going to be able to say yes when you get yeses, then it's not a good investment. But if you're ready for those opportunities, and I think also like you do get the national chains at these shows, but you also get some other kind of distribution opportunities that you could probably control a little bit more. Some of the expenses, like you don't all have to go like national with a broad line distributor with all the fees to all of these. So, like with Glenn, there are other distributor options that are not just the kind of big two. And often I know Glenn, you help people even to find distributors if it's somebody you want to bring on, right? With like checks or someone like that.
Yeah, no, we definitely work with brands, that we kind of give them, what depends what stage you're at, how big, are we gonna get, how soon can I get into my door? It might be, direct shipment, to my stores, and then obviously when they want to grow and open up more doors, it's not efficient. We're gonna have to, figure out a distributor that's gonna work for both of us.
We also, we have a number of incubators and shared kitchens that come to the show, and they put up their, the folks who they're working with come in and exhibit through that mechanism. And in a lot of those cases, the folks are really there looking for feedback and input, right? They're not necessarily shelf ready yet, but they're looking for folks in the industry to get a reaction to what they're putting out there and start to get some valuable input.
All right. Okay, a couple other questions. If we're not in the Startup CPG section, can we be part of the events? Of course. Yes, for sure. We'd like everybody to be in the events. Our section is like 25 tabletops. But the meetings that we do are open for anybody who is there actually at the show. You have to be inside of the show and the panels that we're doing, all of that stuff. So, definitely support it. And the parties will be open for anybody. You don't need a badge for the show to get to those. Okay, somebody else said how much material or samples? Pretty common question. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that there's a hard and fast rule. If you talk to any of the sales contacts, they can give you a really good idea. They've been doing this for forever and they've seen a lot of, under and over planning.
Mhm.
So any of the contacts over at SFA who you talk to should be able to give you an idea if other brands on the call can't do that on our behalf.
What's the number of attendees again?
Well, so it's 29,000, but that includes exhibitors. So you're really
Right.
talking about between 13 and 14,000 attendees.
13 to 14,000. What percent of them are actually going to come to your booth?
Right.
Like maybe you're going to have 500 samples, something like that. I know Lauren had some thoughts on this from Expo because I know you said you kind of overshot how many samples you thought you actually needed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in terms of I'm a chip brand, and so you're really, I mean, people are eating so much, and so they're not going to want to take a fistful of chips anyway. So I mean, if you're a chip or a gummy, it's one morsel is what people are going to want to put in their mouth. And so think of it that way. And how many servings can you get out of one bag? You're most likely going to send too much product. But also, if you're a brand that has product already in retail around the convention center, or let's say on Amazon, where you can easily get more, then I mean, send less than you need to. It was easier for me again because I was in New York, but when we went to Expo West this past year, I sent way too much product. So, I mean, it's a hard, I tried to calculate out and it didn't work out so well still. So it's a hard, fast rule to make for yourself.
And you can control some of it. Like if you're a beverage company, maybe you decide not to give out full cans until the end and you're just pouring samples instead. Um, but yeah, you can kind of control the and sample size of it. But yeah, you almost always end up with way too much product. And then also, I encourage you to be scrappy. If this is your first show, like at any of these shows, if you're a beverage company, maybe don't rent a fridge. Like you can buy a collapsible cooler off Amazon and bring ice from the hotel, and it will be amazing. Bring some koozies; it's going to be ice cold and perfect. So a lot of cool ways to just try to save money along the way. Okay, a couple questions coming in that are like, if you're already an SFA member, what are the options for tabletop? And like, yeah,
Yeah, so the tabletop option is really meant for brands who have been in business and or at the show for a limited number of time. We usually do, I'm not sure what the number of years in business is, but I think it's for like the first 2 years that you are at the show, you can still qualify for a tabletop. So as a member, I would reach out to your rep and find out what your options are, because it's going to depend on your previous relationship with the shows.
okay, so but typically your first 2 years at the show, you could ask for a table. Okay, so that should answer a couple. Actually, the first two questions that answers. Okay, great. Some do's and don'ts if you have a tabletop. What's going on at the show? How do you rock that tabletop? Patricia might have some thoughts on this one too. I will just say, like, we have a couple episodes on the podcast about how to crush a trade show. For me, it starts with actually just trying to build a relationship with a lot of the buyers year round. So that's starting now. Like, are you trying to reach out to them on LinkedIn? Are you posting good stuff on LinkedIn? Are you creating good buzz about your product? Or do you have good stories to tell so that when you show up, it's not just the first time they're seeing it and hearing about it? When you're actually there at the show, I don't know. I like just kind of a clean layout. Like our section, we actually designed that way. There are no pop-up banners. It feels like a community. If you're on your own, I mean, I think just like knowing who's at the show. So come in with your list about who you're trying to see there. You can see a lot on LinkedIn if you search some of the hashtags around fancy foods, like Let's Get Fancy. I don't know what the one is for this, but you can, We Fancy. All right. You can see a lot of people who are going. You can see who we post that's taking meetings, who's VIPs at our events, who's speaking on the panels. Like, you know who's there. Have your hit list for who you need to talk to. And like, don't walk out of the show until you've talked to these buyers. They're all going to walk by your booth at some point because the show is manageable. They will walk by your booth. So, I would really just make sure that when they do, you do not miss them. I don't like.
Yeah, I would just add to that, the ability to be discoverable is really important. So, when you sign up, there's a platform that we use that feeds into our mobile app and everything else where you can put in information about your company. But don't just kind of like start and stop with, kind of the name and category that you're in. We have a bunch of other things that you can delineate, whether it's your ability to do drop shipping versus, your minimum maximum order. We have things like different trends that you can align with that people can search by. So there's a lot of different ways to go in there and make sure that you're discoverable when buyers are doing a number of different types of searches.
And yes, and at the show, yeah, again, like, I don't know, you get a couple badges with a tabletop, and if you're by yourself, maybe get someone to help, because in our channel we do volunteer matching where you can find someone from our community to come and help pour samples for you or dish out samples, and then you can have your eyes open for Glenn's badge, and like, because the best thing is if you actually can recognize the buyers, but that'll take some time. But know who the chains are, and then you're looking for them. If you see a buyer from one of the chains and you don't know who your buyer is, you can ask them. I've 100% had success just saying like, oh, hi, can you tell me who the buyer is for my category from your store? And are they here? 100% of the time, they'll be like, yeah, it's so and so, and he's actually 2 aisles back, and then you're ready, right? I've had buyers not like some things that I said, but that one always did fine. Or just sticking out your hand and say, I just want to introduce myself. That one always works, pretty well too. So don't miss them when they come by your booth. I sort of like the energy of just, don't be like sit way back behind your booth and just see who kind of shows up there. There's a lot for them to look at, get out there, have good energy, figure out your 5-word pitch. That's the most important thing, is the thing that you keep saying when people walk by. So we'll have some practice sessions for that. And then the other one that keeps coming up, I think, let me just review for everybody exactly the opportunities here. The main one is reach out to Liana's team if you want to talk to them about a tabletop, becoming an SFA member, all of that stuff. Maybe can you, Liana, do you mind just like dropping the website again in the chat here, just so everyone has it, or the emails, just one more time in case people weren't fully paying attention during that slide. So they're like, reach out, have a relationship with them. And then there are kind of 2 other things going on. One, we are doing our last round of applications for our section. We just have a couple tabletops left. So maybe Patricia could post that link again for our section one last time. And then the very last thing, which you guys probably all saw, was just the opportunity to maybe win a free booth, which we just wanted to do with SFA to kind of reward everybody for coming and spending this time learning about it, because, we just think it's good. And you guys, it's hard unless somebody actually takes the time and sits and talks to you about the show. So that's all the good stuff. So Patricia just pasted the form to apply for our section. Liana posted the overall contacts form, which is just to talk to their team and ask them about getting a tabletop. If you've been at the show less than 2 years, you can qualify for a tabletop. If you've been longer than that, you can get a booth. You can also walk and apply for all of our opportunities. And then lastly, Patricia posted the booth giveaway, which, because you're on the call, you're eligible for. Cool. Okay. Maybe as we're just wrapping here, I wonder, Glenn, maybe could I just ask you, any overall tips that you see, hey, these brands, I just see them doing a really good job at the show. Any tips for brands that are going to do it to really stand out and, get your attention, or, you feel like can do really well?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about planning for me, Daniel. I think I'll get a lot of hits right on LinkedIn. There's no question about it. My box will get, filled up. I'll try to clean it up before I get there. I'll plan out my walk, right? It's going to be, efficient. I have to make sure I hit every area, and I'll be there for, probably 2.5 days. But yeah, look out for the buyers. Daniel will definitely be at your pavilion. I'll be at other pavilions. I have one-on-one meetings. My team, I have my team walking the floor too, just so I don't miss anything. I'm going to be pulled from them too at a period to really see what they saw. So we have a bunch of set of different eyes ready to walk the show, ready to, bring new stuff into our markets for our customers. But I think really, doing your research, knowing who the buyers are, Daniel, I think you have all the connections and you have everybody, and somehow we bring all of us together somehow, some way, if it's a party or at the show, you do it. So I think, everybody will have a great show, and I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Party at Glenn's house, everybody. You heard
Let's go.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I mean, I think I know we didn't get to quite everybody's question. I would say if we didn't get to one of your questions, I would just reach out to those contacts, the SFA ones, and they can answer those. Or if you feel like it's something only our team could answer, you can put it in the Slack channel. We have a Fancy Food Summer Show thread in there, so we're happy to. And yes, so thank you, everybody. Liana, any final words to close us out here?
No, I think, like I said before, we love the partnership with Startup CPG, the community, the energy you guys bring, and I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible in New York in a couple months.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much. Really appreciate all of your insights. Any way that we can all support you?
I mean, I was just going to say for everyone that they should listen to the Startup CPG podcast, both the prep episodes that you guys do, but I specifically listen to the episodes that are after the show, the recaps, because that's where everyone's talking about ooh, did you see that booth? Did you see what they did? So that's a great way to figure out ways to stand out and just the tips and the tricks of the show. So be sure to do that.
There is also a very epic episode featuring Mr. Glenn Cunningham, where you can learn all about him and his stores. And actually, I've heard from people I listened to it and then I reached out to him and then I got in the store. So sorry to blow up your LinkedIn, Glenn, but you're used to it, I know. All right, cool. Well, hey, thank you so much, everybody. The giveaway is closing tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., just so everybody knows, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So get your applications in. See you guys on the Slack, and let's all get fancy.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thanks, everyone.